Unlock your potential today at skillbakery.com.
Welcome to another exciting video. In this one, we'll be exploring macros in Rust. So we have already explored macros in a way indirectly, like we have made use of functions. We have been calling them as functions like format and functions like print, ln. So you'll notice that these actually ends with an exclamation mark. So anything in Rust which contains the exclamation mark in the end of the name of the function are basically treated as macros. And macros are a way to extend the Rust language. They allow you to create new syntax and abstractions that can be used in your code. And we will be exploring how we can create our own macros. And to do that, the keyword that we will be making use of is known as macro rules. Along with creating the macro, we'll be also exploring a couple of things like the order in which the macro is defined, whether it matters or not, and how we can export a macro from a module. So to begin with, we'll be first of all creating a module, and within that module, we'll be creating a macro. Now, as far as the ordering is concerned, make sure that the macros are defined above the function in which they are going to be called. For example, over here we have the main method and we want the macros to be used in the main method. So what we'll do is we'll create them above the main method so that they are accessible. And this is something which only applies to macros in Rust. And as far as functions are concerned, we have seen that no matter where you define them, if you call them in the function and no matter where exactly they are located, it will be executed properly. But with macros, things are a bit different. So the ordering matters over here. Now, in order to create the macro, we'll be making use of the macro module first of all. So let's go ahead and give it a name like mod macros. And within that, we'll be making use of the macro rules macro. So this in itself is a macro and we'll be giving it a name, like let's call it as greet. And since it's a macro, and then within this, we'll be just making use of the print ln macro. So this is not going to take any inputs and all it is going to do is write print ln hello world. Now, we can obviously have something else as well over here, but let's go with this. So what we have done, we have created our first macro. Using the macro rules keyword, we have given it a name and then we are printing it over here as hello world. So whenever greet macro will be called, it will print this line. Now, if I go ahead inside the main method and here I try making use of the macro rules, let's try making use of the greet macro over here. So I just write greet macro and if I try executing it this way, let's see what happens. So here we go and say cargo run and there you go. It says that cannot find function greet macro in this scope. So you see that we have our macro defined within a module. Now, if I go ahead and make this macro as public, that's also not going to help us in accessing it within the main method. So what exactly we need to do over here? Inside the module macros that we have created, we need to specify an attribute which will tell that this macro can be exported outside. So we say macro export over here on top of the macro rules. And once we have done that, let's save it and then give it a try over here. Cargo run again. And this time around it says could not compile due to one error. So the error over here, as you can see, it says in order to invoke the macro, we need to make use of the exclamation mark. And that's what we are missing over here. So let's add that as well. And then save this and run it again. And here you can see it says hello world. So in this one, we have tackled three things. First, what exactly is a macro, how to create a macro, and then the ordering of the macro, whether it matters or not, definitely it does. And then lastly, how to export a macro from a module. So you can see that we have our module over here, and within that module, we created our macros and then we exported them. If you find the video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.